to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If we all can we please rise and face the east for the Moorish American prayer. We rise and face the east. We rise with 2 on the right, 5 on the left, feet in a 45-degree angle. And please, excuse me, repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam Moors, I'd like to announce that this meeting is now open. I rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. Honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us to our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. Honors to our forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey. Honors to all adepts, sheiks, and all faithful Muslims. I'd like to give honors to our charter, our supreme Grand Sheikh, Kinu Umar Bey. I'd like to give honors to our Grand Sheikh. I'd like to give honors to our Temple 30. I'd like to give honors to all Muslims, all Moors on the call, and all Muslims on the planet. Islam. Brother Jackson Bey, if you can, please read the Moorish Constitution and bylaws.
Islam chairman, I rise giving all praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honor to the forefathers and foremothers, and honor to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All means are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live a life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government. They know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members would promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all of the ordinances of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islamism. Peace and love.
Islam Sheikh Secretary. Sister Lacelle, if you can, could you please read the questionnaire and additional laws of the Moorish Science, of the Moorish Americans?
Islam, I rise and give praise to the great Father God Allah. I give honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Marcus Messiah Garvey. I give honors to all Muslims on the call and all Muslims around the world. Questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1, Grand Sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all business. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their EDUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid. And if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish uplifting funds, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is a lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid and save the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I would have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we're to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this set government, and know that they're not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam, peace and love.
Islam and gratitude, sister. Okay, I'll read the writ. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. Prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting way. Peace. Noble Jew Ali. To the members of Islam, this is instructions from your prophet Noble Jew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Jew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. Least they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Jew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation. They claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Islam, 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 Islam. Grand Sheikh, are you able to play the divine warning by the prophet for the nation?
Islam.
Islam, right.
A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights, unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do hear and believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet.
Islam Grand Speaking, Gratitude, Islam, Moors, Islam, Sunday School. Grand Sheik could be going over a measure of 57 to 59. And before that, I wanted to go through a measure on the quote of the prophet, just to build on that a little bit right before we get into that holy zeal on the 101. That's the Green Book, Quotes of the Prophet, Moorish Science Temple of America, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, founder, or statements of the Prophet. Just wanted to read 57 through 59 as well. 57, the Prophet told the Moors, watch the newspapers and listen to the radios. I'm going to make the Europeans tell the truth. 58, the Holy Prophet said that things are going back to the horse and buggy days. 59, the Holy Prophet said that children, one day you are going to love me. Islam. And before we go into the build on the 101s, I just wanted to just use my 5 senses on those 3 just because they match with the 101s. But if you look at it and look at what's going on nowadays, just the quotes, oral quotes, the Prophet was saying, the Prophet, 57, the Prophet told the Moors, watch the newspapers and listen to the radio. I'm going to make the Europeans tell the truth. And if you know, or looking at the news and on the radio, when it comes to more science, and even if they don't say more and more science, when you look at the news, when anything is moving and moving at the way that the Moors are moving, it shows when our people are moving that way. And it shows when Black, Negro, and Color move their way. 58, the Holy Prophet said that things are going back to the horse and buggy days. I was doing a little bit of research, and it's funny that Tesla comes out with these cars now from Elon Musk that has enough money that he can't be bullied. But if you look at, and you may have seen it on social media, if you look back in the 1920s and 30s, they had electric cars right after the horse and buggy. In Islam, and 59, the Holy Prophet said that children, one day you're going to love you. Islam, what are we doing right now in our Sunday school? Loving the Prophet. Islam, Islam, Islamism. And with that, I'd like to give the floor up to our Grand Sheikh.
Islam, brother. Gratitude for your measure. I want to rise, give praise to Allah, our Creator, honors to our Prophet, honors to the forerunner to the Prophet, honors to all Moorish leaders, past and present, and also honors to you, brother Chairman, and honors to all you Moors. Islam. Now, yeah, I did want to speak on keys 57 through 58, just focusing on those three keys for today. Because on one hand we should all memorize the keys, but also we want to understand what we're doing, right? We want to understand what we're working with, because these are keys, and we want to be able to open the keys to heaven, which is within us. So going over questions 57, 58, and 59. Key 57: who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. Where did they go? They went into Asia. What is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. All right. So we've talked about this several times. It's, at the basic level, you see Adam and Eve are described as a plural, in the plural sense, mothers and fathers, right? We're not talking about one man and woman, right? Mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. These are new terms, new understanding is given to us by the Prophet. Goes against everything everybody's saying, what they were saying back then and what they're saying now, because our people are pushing black hardcore because they don't know any better, right? Where did they go? They went into Asia. And what is the modern name given to their children? Asiatic. Some people might try to separate us from Adam and Eve, but not even understanding it. And doing that, you're playing right into the hands of the people who came to usurp, who came to take our identity from us, right? So the Prophet's saying we're connected to Adam and Eve. They're the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. We see that Asiatics and Muslims mentioned these things, not because Muslims aren't Asiatics or Asiatics. It's mentioned in, they're two different entities, because all Asiatics don't submit to the will of Allah. Many went astray, went away from Allah, began, worshiping several gods, began, doing all types of things, right? And so, as they went away from that, you also had the Asiatics who held to the will of Allah, who, practiced Islam, and those are the Muslims. So Adam and Eve are the mothers and fathers of all of these people, right? So these Adam and Eve were a people. These were people who originally were not slaves to their lower self. Where did they go? They went into Asia. We're going to speak about that, what that really means. And then the modern name given to their children is Asiatics. And so we don't want to try to put Adam and Eve on somebody else like that. That was them. That wasn't us. We were before Adam and Eve. We don't want to do any of that, because the Prophet didn't do that. And it's really important, right? The Prophet had a lot of work to do. We've talked about this book here before, The Negro, a Beast in the Image of God. Not because this book is so important or special, but we do understand that books like this, specifically this book in particular, it's in law libraries. It's in Harvard University Law Library. It's in several old libraries. This was used as a reference by people to describe who we are, who we weren't, and to disconnect us from the family of humans. Okay? So no, we don't go away from what the Prophet said, right? We're connected to Adam and Eve. Now, this book is a good example of how they try to disconnect us from all that. The Negro and his relation to the human family. The Negro, a beast, but created with articulate speech and hands, that he may be of service to his master, the white man. Come on, y'all. This was written in the late 1800s. This version of it was published in 1900. All right. And it's saying the author spent 15 years of his life and $20,000 in his compilation, right? He did all this work to get it out there. Like, this is who they are. This is who the Negro is. And then here, just one image I wanted to show you all. Adam and Eve, the morning of the creation of man. He said he's got his own image of the creation here. And the Negro is on the outside of it. So you can see in here this image, morning of the creation of man. He's got the pale skinned Adam and Eve in the direct line of kinship with God, but then you have this, terrible depiction of an Asiatic man, a so-called Negro, and he's in the dark on the outside, cut off. All right. So we want to understand what the prophet really did here, because actually it goes even deeper than this, right? He's reconnecting us to who we truly are, so that we understand that even before this religion in particular was forced on our ancestors, we were already connected to all that stuff. We didn't need someone to come and tell us about God and civilize us. We already had all of that. Matter of fact, we gave that to the other people who later created a religion for themselves, right? So it's important for us to understand that, and to understand, what the prophet's really saying when he's talking about Asia. Now we're going to go into the deeper meaning and understanding of it, because, when we think of Asia or hear the word Asia, we think of what? China, right? Japan, right? We're thinking of that. But if you go back in time, especially to the early 1900s, it had a deeper meaning. So, of course, that was the Far East, China, and then especially going over all the way out to Japan. That was the Far East. That was considered Asia, but also Asia included what they now call the Middle East, and also North Africa. This is a picture which I've shown here before in our temple in one of our meetings, speaking about Asia, how this is from what used to be called the Oriental Institute of Chicago. This was from their website. And this is, some men, you see them in here. They actually looks like they're in a temple or possibly in a pyramid, right? But they were in Egypt. You see the two Asiatic brothers wearing their fez with their garbs on, right? Okay, and this was from, at the time, I say at the time because they actually changed the name, which is crazy, but it was the Oriental Institute of Chicago. This was from their .edu, the actual website from the school. And it's important actually to note this because they changed the name, and they did it recently, just last year, which is, it's crazy. We talked about this because North Africa, the Middle East, all that was Asia. And it was so important. I mean, it was understood that, from a scholastic point of view, that the study of Asia included all of this stuff, all of these lands and everything that the prophet said our people came from. Where did the prophet say our people came from? The land of Canaan. And they went from the land of Canaan into Africa to populate Africa. And this is very important to understand. All right. So if the prophet taught this to us and brought an understanding to us, is not being taught in schools, right? It's uncommon. We don't want to go away from that. So in this institute, which now is called the Institute for the Study of Ancient Cultures, West Asia and North Africa, used to be the Oriental Institute of Chicago, right? Now in there, it says 10,000 years of humanity under one roof, right? So you see this looks like maybe an ancient Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Sumerian artifact. So they had all that stuff in there, and they still do. But I just wanted to point that out because, we were teaching this and we mentioned this, and they changed the name like that same year or the very next year. I'm not saying they did it because class that we had, but it's very, very peculiar because this institute didn't just pop up. It was founded in 1919. It says founded in 1919 as University of Chicago's first research institute, the Oriental Institute, world renowned for its research of the study of the ancient communities. All right. And that include ancient Canaan. That was considered Asia. But Just last year, 2023, and April 4th, they announced that they renamed the institute, Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago. They renamed it to the Institute for the Study of Ancient Cultures. All right, so that's pretty crazy. But just letting you know, when the prophet is talking about Asia, this is what he's talking about, where civilization, as far as we know, started. And I say as far as we know started because we know that it actually goes back further than this. But there was a reset. And we know this, not making all this stuff up. We know this just from the prophet, the keys that the prophet brought to us. How do we know that? Well, there's a certain way that Moorish Americans study time, or how we count time. All right? So we count time in cycle ages, right? You can see that kind of here in the keys where it's talking about how many days in a circle, how many days in creation, right? But also, we see that in our Quran, where it actually says that we count time in cycle ages. And so that's important to understand too, because, if something started, if civilization started, we know that that was just an age. That was just a cycle. That it's actually, it didn't start then. It's been going on longer than that. For those that want to know more about that, check out chapter 2 in the Holy Quran. When you read there, down in verse 12, it speaks about how we measure time by cycle ages. At the gate to every age, we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. Okay? So none of this is actually new to us. So just setting the tone. When he's talking about going into Asia, this is where he's talking about, going into this specific area. All right? But now let's get into this a little deeper. So we're speaking about physically what it can mean, what it does mean, actually, what it's referring to. But I want to speak about it from a spiritual standpoint, a metaphysical standpoint, because that speaks to all of us, and we can use this information and understanding on a daily basis to improve our lives. We don't want to just be on some, oh, yeah, we know the truth. We know about, ancient Canaan. We know, yeah, that's cool and all. But what about our everyday life? Making our everyday lives better. So that's what we want to understand. So going into here, and then this is also a message that actually can be applied to all of humanity. All right. We want to, the truth will make you free. So let's look at that. So who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. All right. So from a spiritual perspective, Adam and Eve represent something, right? So I spoke on how they symbolize humans, or a form of humans who were not slaves to the lower self. We can get that from our Quran and also from the keys that are in here. Right? We understand that at one point there were humans that were not slaves to the lower self. Doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't have a carnal nature. It just means that they weren't slaves to it. The carnal nature began to become stronger. It became stronger to the point where it became a foe that we must subdue. We became so entrapped within our own carnal nature that we became this meat body, even though man is neither the body nor the soul. We're spirit and one with Allah. How come this wasn't taught to me in church? Was this taught to you in church? This isn't being said to knock the church, because there are churches where people are giving the truth and teaching, enlightenment, but this wasn't taught to us. We didn't know. So, Adam and Eve, on one hand, they symbolize humans before the fall. Then they also symbolize the duality within each individual, because we all have masculine and feminine principles. And then there's archetypes for the divine creation forces that are within humanity. Adam represents spirit and Eve represents soul. You can see this also when you look in the Charles Fillmore Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Adam means life or earthy, and is symbolizing the higher self within this physical form. Eve means life-giving and represents the soul's creative power. All right, but we all have those aspects within us, right? Because we're neither the body nor the soul, we're spirit, but one with Allah. So we have all of those aspects within us. All right, Then you have the plural form of mothers and fathers, and that's also showing the symbolic role. That's, they're the progenitors, the creators of the physical creators of all human consciousness, right? So it transcends even biological lineage. We all have these aspects, right? And then there's a collective origin for all of humanity, and it's rooted in divine unity, meaning there's nothing outside of creation. There's nothing outside of the creator, outside of Allah. Anyone trying to tell you that there's some great, huge, you know, opposing force that's so strong, even it's outside of Allah, they don't understand anything, right? It's only an opposing force because a strength needs to be exerted. And how does the strength be exerted? By going against a force, by being, by working against a force, improving itself, exerting itself. So there's nothing outside of creation, nothing outside of the creator. So going to 58, where did they go? They went into Asia. Asia represents not just the portion of the land like we're showing before, how Asia wasn't just the Far East, it was also Middle East and North Africa. But Asia also represents a spiritual state of consciousness, right? Even the term Asia, it's deriving its ancient roots, and it means light or the rising, just like with the sun rising in the east. So journeying into Asia also symbolizes humanity's shift from divine unity into physical manifestation. We see that because we've spoken on this before, because Asia, when you're looking at it from the ancient Kabbalah, right, which is the Jewish form of mysticism. It's from the Jewish perspective, going deeper into spirituality. When you look at it like that, Asia is the physical world. It's the last of the four spiritual worlds of the Kabbalah. All right. And this is where the manifest takes place. And remember, you're not the body. You're not even the soul. You're spirit, but one with Allah. So your consciousness is getting deeper into this physical world. Why? So that you may be the strength of Allah may manifest. We all have this purpose to eventually realize our true nature as spirit, one with Allah, and be the strength of Allah manifest. So Asia is not just a geographic location. It's not just the location on the map. In the Holy Quran of Mecca, the East, right, because we rise and face the East, it's not about facing the Kaaba like many people do. The East represents divine illumination, and the East also represents truth. So, for you, maybe that that's my own heart. I'm facing within, because where's the nearest place we can meet Allah? In the heart. But physically, we turn and face the East, because that's what symbolic. It's symbolic. All right. And a lot of the things we do are symbolic. You're wearing a fez, you're wearing a turban. These things are symbolic. The modern name, what is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. So who are the Asiatics? Asiatics include all of the so-called black people in the Americas, right? We actually have a chapter that goes into the different Asiatics in the world. It's pretty much all the people who are called colored people, pretty much all of the, melanated people in the world, right? But for us, from our perspective, prophets, re-identifying us, linking us to our lineage, right? We're part of a global ancient heritage. This is important to understand too, because as we go out into the world and travel throughout the world, we find these Asiatics everywhere. They're literally everywhere. Okay, so this is reconnecting us to something this ancient, and it's it's important to know, for us, for our posterity, for us to to increase our understanding of who we are, and for our culture and everything. It's powerful to know. But the prophet had to do this because we had been cut off from everyone. All right. So spiritually, Asiatics really represents the collective journey back to spiritual enlightenment for everyone, because we're all moving from ignorance to knowledge of self. But we understand the prophet had to restore our dignity and our divine heritage for us, specifically for Moorish Americans. So the prophet included these lessons because the people that he had to bring it to, had lost their identity. So he had to literally teach us who we are again. And not only teach us who we are again, but prepare us for our true purpose, which is to uplift fallen humanity, which will affect all types of people. Of course, it's going to start with us and with our communities, but it's going to impact the entire world. And we can't do that in the current state. We do impact the world in our current state. And other people here in America use us to, entertain and, take our ideas to, they use it to enrich themselves and also to sell an image to America. So they use us to spread, negativity and things that, all types of things that are bad, for humanity that we know as Moorish American Muslims. They use us to influence the world to do, bad, negative things, right? So it's time for us to take control of our own image and who we truly are. So this is why these teachings are in there. It's very important. And the whole world has been fragmented. The whole world has been divided up, has been fed misinformation. So it's extremely important for us, those who lost who they were, to be returned to their origin, and then also to come into the responsibility that we have now to uplift fallen humanity. So we have to know the truth about our origin so we can break free, right? Because we literally have people who think like that video that I showed with that preacher, that lady who's like saying she thank God for slavery. One for slavery, she be worshiping a tree somewhere in Africa, right? So we literally have people that think like this, right? So the prophet brought the truth because, of course, the truth makes you free. The truth is liberating, and it aligns us with our divine laws and the nature of the universe, right? So when we come in as Moorish Americans and embrace our identity as Asiatics, now we can reject all the false narratives that's been placed upon us, because now now everybody else might not know what Asiatics mean. They hear you say Asiatics, they confuse. What are you trying to say? You Chinese or something? No. Asiatics. This whole physical realm was called Asia. All right? We were the first physical beings. The first beings to come in and have a full physical body, right? We understand things, on that level. And so now we know also that we must subdue the carnal nature that came along with this physical body. And we must return to our higher self. We must realign with our higher self so that we can fulfill our true purpose. So this is an everyday reminder then, even just knowing that you're Asiatics, knowing that we are Asiatics. You got to remember, man is neither the body nor the soul. Asia, when they went into Asia, it wasn't just a geographic location on the world. That was when they became physical beings with a lower self. When they really bought into this physical world, like, hey, we are humans. Even beginning to forget that we are connected to the Creator. That's what that means. We all have to know that. We can't forget that. That's another reminder. When you think about that, we're Asiatics. That should be a reminder. Hey, we're supposed to be praying throughout the day. I must meditate. And it has to be an everyday thing for me because I have to be in balance. I can't be so stuck in Asia, in the physical world, that I don't know that I'm really connected to Allah. It's an everyday reminder. Even just talking about who we are, we're Asiatics. It's still a reminder of our true nature, who we are, what we are to do. Okay? On a practical level, something that we all can do. We all have to make time to meditate. Time to meditate. Meditation is a form of prayer. We all have to make time to do this. Why? Because there's so many distractions in the everyday life. There's so many things we have to do. Even if you don't have nothing to do, you find stuff to do, right? There's so many video games, movies, shows, so many things, so many distractions. We have to make time to meditate, to slow our thoughts down, to quiet our mind, to allow divine inspiration to come through. So that's just another reminder, Morris. This is what we're supposed to be doing. Not saying you're supposed to be floating around, meditating all day, all night. No, at least 10, 15 minutes here and there, right? Or at least when you wake up and when you go to bed. And if you got that down, you've been doing that for a couple months now get it up to 3 times. Now 4 or 5 times a day to pray, especially to meditate. And this is, as we do this and make this a part of our life, of course, we affect other people around us, the others in our household. And so, yeah, we can't leave that out. Anybody trying to leave that out, you're not really following the prophet, and you're going to make it harder on yourself. But just going back to this, so when we're speaking about Adam and Eve, the Asiatics going into Asia, we're actually talking about the coming into the physical world. So don't ever forget that. It's deeper than it looks on the surface. We're talking about the coming into the physical world, the becoming physical beings. Asia is the last of the 4 spiritual worlds of the Kabbalah. Asia actually refers to the physical material world. It's the lowest of the 4 worlds in the tree of life. Let me get another picture up here for you. You got the 4 names on here. Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asia. All right. There's 4 worlds on this tree of life. Atziluth is the pure divine realm that's the closest to the creator. You see that up here at the top. And then you have Bria, the world of creation, the realm of divine intelligence and archetypes. And when you go a little lower, you see these different levels. It's all called Yetzirah, and that's the world of formation, the world of emotions, astral forms, and imagination. And then you have Asia right here, and that's the world of action, the physical realm where divine ideas manifest as tangible experiences. And actually, every night when you go to sleep, we go into this Yetzirah world, because when you're in the world of emotions, astral forms, and imagination, you're dreaming. You might even be in the astral realm. You might think about something and you're there. You were having one dream, now you having a different dream. You somewhere totally different, right? So we actually tap into this stuff, and it's the world of creation. So all this is very real. But we're in the world of Asia, right? The world of action, the physical manifests. And when we're talking about those children of Adam and Eve, who were the first, humans that these were the ones who actually fell, who actually, began to fall to their own lower self, and their descendants were slaves to the lower self, basically. This is what this is actually saying. So from a Moorish American's perspective, Asia, it's not just the place, the physical or geographical location of the ancient civilizations, which it was, but it's also that spiritual journey of humanity into the material consciousness. And this is the material consciousness. This whole world that we're in, it's all about the material world. I think Madonna had a song called Material Girl. That's the world we're in right now. So when Adam and Eve went into Asia, remember that. That's the descent of humanity from divine unity, right? Where Adam was first, he's walking, talking with Allah, the Garden of Eden. Remember, we spoke about the Garden of Eden also being a state of mind. So going from the Garden of Eden into the physical realm. The physical realm, you have struggle, you have duality, you have the material experience. You even have the kill or be killed, the stronger taking over the weaker. And so just having this understanding, just off these 3 questions, speaking about Adam, Eve, Asia, and the physical world. That's an understanding for us of the coming into the physical realm, right? And being reminded of this, we have divine potential that's embedded within each and every one of us. We all have the capacity to rise from Asia back to higher states of spiritual consciousness. We all have that. And so that's why, once again, we must make it a daily practice to meditate. We must do that work because why? We're strengthening our own connection with Allah, which is within. So when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was using that term Asiatics, it goes way beyond geography. It's also relinking us in with our spiritual lineage. And we don't need to go through anyone for that. You don't need to be approved by anyone. You don't need to go through any classes, none of that stuff. Everybody has it within them. And then it's not a coincidence that that teaching lines up with the Kabbalistic teaching of Asia. All right? So all of this is in divine order. And this is being taught to us so that we can recognize our existence in the physical realm while we work to rise our thoughts up to divine wisdom, because we have a higher purpose to be the strength of Allah made manifest. It's not just a phrase that's in our Quran for no reason. We actually have the capacity to do this. And then understanding Moorish Americans as Asiatics are being tasked with manifesting our divine principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in the physical world. I saw a post online where it was a brother talking about how no matter what's going on, no matter how bad things look, all of this stuff is about to change for the positive. He's talking about how all the things is being revealed, all the people that's getting exposed, all that stuff is in divine order. And there was a lady, a European lady, commenting saying, "How do you know this stuff? How can you be so sure?" It sounds great, but she's saying like, the world has to be ruled by love. Everybody, the laws, everything has to come from some type of higher principles. And I was just thinking about what we have, while I was reading that, because we actually have the answer. All we have to do is put it into action in our lives, and we show by our actual actions, by how we're living, right? Not by the words that we're speaking, none of that stuff. And this really is true, when the prophet's talking about uplifting fallen humanity. We have what it takes. All right. And it's even better if nobody's looking at us and expecting us to do it. That's even greater because, we've been counted out. And it's even greater that our people have fallen, because as we do rise up, it'll be that easier to teach and show, because people know that we've fallen. They've seen us on TV, even if they don't speak English. Everybody has seen, I don't even want to say this word, but everybody has seen the N-word on TV. Everybody's seen us in our lower state. Everybody has seen us doing ignorant things and has seen all of the negative stereotypes and all that stuff. It's been played out for the whole world to see. It's even been translated into other languages. We ain't the ones doing that stuff, getting people to read it and all, and to say the stuff in all these different languages. So it's been played out for the world to see, so that they can see the rise, so that everybody can heed the call and get in line. All right. And so Adam and Eve in that Garden of Eden, it's not just the story of the first humans, right? Because they weren't even the only humans. There were several. That's why I said Adam and Eve in, the plural form. That's the archetype. And that was being shown so that we understand our true nature. We're supposed to be one with Allah. We're supposed to be in complete harmony with the universal laws. There really is no separation with spirit and matter. It's all in, the only separation is in our consciousness. And so now that we understand our true purpose and rise in consciousness, that's why the work is all mental. We must mentally now work to control even our thoughts, not just what we're saying, but our thoughts, deeds, and actions. All right. When Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they gained awareness of duality, of good and evil. And that represents humanity. That's how humanity came into the physical world, Asia, where the lower self began to assert itself. They came into the knowledge of good and evil. They know, oh, I can do this. I don't have to be in alignment with Allah's will. With Allah's will. I can go doing anything, right? So it wasn't the fall, wasn't a punishment. It was a necessary phase that we had to go through for spiritual elevation, right? That allows the entire humanity to learn and grow, and eventually of our own free will return to divine unity through conscious choice, not because we're being forced to. That's why it's like we ain't trying to sit here and scare people. Oh, you got to do this. Nah, you don't want to do this, don't. It's not. Maybe you're not ready for it. I don't know. Maybe it's just you got more stuff to do, right? It's not for everybody. It's not like you can fake it. So just like Adam and Eve began in the garden, and we know the Garden of Eden is a state of mind, Moorish Americans also being reminded of our divine origins, right? The descendants of the original human family, the Asiatics, the first humans. So we are reconnecting to our true lineage, reconnecting also to our true purpose and the call that we have. And so just leaving this on the practical measures, we all must practice daily meditation, right? This ain't somebody telling you what to do. It's just advice that we all should be heeding so that we can, at least on a daily basis, be doing the work to strengthen our own connection with divinity, right? And then also, of course, studying, applying these principles, these divine principles that's in the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And also there's other texts too that's sacred, right? If you want to read, the Bible, read the Quran, read the works of Buddha, whatever, right? But, we have the Quran right here. Why not master that? It's only 60-something pages. And as we do this now, we can begin to be a living example, right, through our acts, promoting love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, in our households and also in our community. Because ultimately we want to reclaim the garden, because the Garden of Eden is not a physical place. It's a state of consciousness where we are living in alignment with divine laws. So we recreate that within ourselves. So that's what this all boils down to. The understanding of who Asiatics are in modern times, that's humanity's descent into the physical realm. When you know about the descent, you remember your true purpose. We are to rise back up and never forget that. Okay, so Islam, on that note, Moors, I'm going to yield the floor. If there's any questions or comments, Moors, please feel free to speak. And on that note, I yield the floor. Islam.
Yeah, Islam Grand Sheikh, I like to rise and give Allah the highest of praises and stand honest to all the Moors on the call. So actually this teaching here actually is helping me to ask a question that I asked you a long time ago. So I understood it probably, so I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked you about a year ago. So in the teaching you were saying something about like our consciousness is getting deeper into this world. And so with that being said, I don't know if you remember, I had said something about like, saying like when we get knocked out, we don't have a consciousness. Like you get into a fight, you get knocked out, you don't have any consciousness. So my question would be like, if we're getting deeper into this world with our consciousness, where is the starting point of our consciousness and where is it at? And also like we get into a fight and we get knocked out, where is our conscious? Now, some people say unconscious, but that's like a different mind, I think. So I was trying to figure out like, where exactly is our conscious at? And how do we keep our conscious continue going on? Because in my opinion, it's like technically your consciousness is like kind of like your immortality. Because I know that we'd already been here before, but we done lost like memories of our past lives, and we had to come back here, or whatever. And so with that, that's basically what I want to know, like exactly where is our conscious at and where the starting point is. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam, yeah, that's a good question. You know what? It may be hard for me to answer. I don't actually know the truth, and I'll tell you why. So the easiest thing to say would be that it's not within the body, right? Why? Because we're not the body nor the soul. We're spirit and one with Allah. Spirit is with the Creator at all times. So it's not limited to the physical realm or any other realms. That's why when you actually do raise up your vibration to connect with your higher self, right? You are connected to everything in existence, and you can actually feel that, and it's an overwhelming experience, which is another reason why maybe why we aren't walking around feeling connected like that all the time. It might be too much to take in. But I say that, just to say that the consciousness is more than we understand. You have people who were in surgery who were knocked out, to the they gave them the drugs and stuff, so they would be knocked out for surgery, and they were floating above their body and hearing the discussions the surgeons and people were doing, right? So that's letting you know, and this is their consciousness, So that's letting you know that consciousness isn't limited to the body. And maybe that portion of consciousness also isn't limited to the soul. That may be a higher portion that's connected to the higher self. That's something I will have to do more research on. But I'm just saying, like, it's not limited to the body. That's all I know. It's not limited to the brain. Islam, I yield the floor.
Yeah, Islam Grand Sheikh. So I rewrite. Okay, that kind of answers my question a little bit. And so, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if this will like have any relevance on it. So it's like, I kind of understand that question a little bit better because you said something about giving us an everyday reminder. So I'm only just using what I have on the earth, like in the physical realm. So I do know, like, when people if they lose their memory, you know what I'm saying? People give them like little notes and everyday reminders of who they are or whatever, like little notes here and there, and just keep giving them reminders, and eventually their memory starts to come back. And I don't know if it'd be something like that, like, you know what I'm saying? I guess like the everyday reminders, and I know that like dealing with meditation that puts us closer to our higher self. And so I guess it would be something similar to that. And this how, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was just trying to figure out, because I know that the soul is deep in this, and you can't comprehend the soul. It's like we on different levels. And also, as far as the consciousness, I have heard of, like, I don't drive a truck, but anybody here that drove a truck, I heard stories like where they say like truck drivers may be driving a truck and they fall asleep and they drive the whole trip safely being asleep. I don't know if anybody heard of that. So you just made me think of that as well, because truck drivers have, like, people fall asleep and they drive in their cars and they done fell asleep, but they done drove and got home completely safe. And with that, I give up the mic. So this is actually getting me to think a little bit better. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam. Yeah, and I think there's just some things that we can't explain or understand. I've been driving home, like working late before too in the past, and got home, you know, and I was out of it and don't know how, I mean, I wasn't asleep, but I was, out of it, thinking about other stuff and sleepy and don't know how I got home. So, there's muscle memory. See, your brother just said that in the chat, you know, yeah, just doing things on autopilot. So the body, that's another thing too, that the lower self, it does have an understanding. It does have like a body of knowledge and intelligence. We've spoken about this in here several times too, how in the scriptures, and maybe like this in the Quran, but it's definitely like this in the Bible. When they say someone knew someone else, they're talking about physical knowledge of creating a human being. They're talking about, sex. So they'll say Adam knew Eve. They'll say this person knew that person. Solomon knew Sheba or something. This when this person knew that person, she beget him a son. Because the carnal body does have knowledge. It knows how to physically recreate a human body. Right? And so, on autopilot, the body can do things if we train it to. Just like if you want to wake up at a certain time, you can tell your body to do it with authority, and your body will do it. You don't need an alarm clock. Yeah. So there's understandings and things that we aren't fully tapping into, but this is the type of stuff that we should be, as Moorish Americans, researching, gaining insight and understanding over, right? Instead of some of the things that's being pushed to our community, which is straight trash, which keeps us locked into an ignorant, foolish mind state. People talking about foolish, stupid things. It's not going to take us further. It's not going to advance us scientifically, spiritually, in any kind of way. But these are the things that we should be working from a Moorish American perspective to understand. Because if we're working from, Western ideology, we're limited, right? So this is why the prophet gave us a whole new or ancient, but returning to, to our own way of thinking. He gave us a whole new philosophy and way to look at the world. And this is the only way we're going to be able to advance forward. So sorry, I don't have like the direct answer because, some things just beyond my understanding, right? But, it could be muscle memory, could be something else, right? And as far as where the consciousness rests, it's not limited to the body. That's the only thing I know. I can't say if it's spirit or not, but I do know that it's not limited to the body. Islam. And on that note, I yield the floor. If there's any other questions or comments, Morris, please feel free to speak.
Yeah, Islam. So I did have another question, but it might be set for like the next class. But this looks like a kind of deep question. So it came out of our 101s, basically dealing with 64 all the way up to 75, and I was basically trying to figure out. Let me get my thing here. I was basically trying to figure out. Let me pull up my 101s here, and I'll say the other part for next week because there's two parts of this I want to know. But let me pull up my ones here. I think it'll start off at 64. Let me see here. Okay, yeah. So it says, give the five names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve, and it says Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And then number 65 says, what is the devil sometimes called? And it says lower self. And so it says that the devil is sometimes called lower self. And so is there like a difference between the lower self and the devil? And the reason I ask that is because once you go all the way over to I think it's 75. It says, because the prophet put this in here, and this is in the Bible as well. When you go over to 75, I start with 74. It says, 74 says, what did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Where are you going, Satan? Where are you going, Satan? And then 75 said, what was the answer the lower self gave to the higher self? It says, I am going to and fro in the earth seeking whom I may devour. So who really is the devil or the lower self? Because it seems at one point they're like two separate people, but then it says we have a higher self and lower self. And so could you understand that context of why the prophet put verse 74, I think it's 74 and 75 in there. So I was just trying to figure out who really is the devil and who is really the lower self. So I was just trying to figure that out. But I guess then it's like 76 and 77 is like for another whole different discussion because, let me see here. He says, I'm going to and fro the earth whom I may devour. Then 76 says, has he finished his task of devouring? And the answer is yes. And when Jesus, and 77 says, was his time declared out when he was nailed on the cross? His time was declared out when he was nailed on the cross. So the higher self time is out and is seeking to devour. We're not, and we are the lower self and higher self. So I don't understand how 76 and 77 goes together to the rest of it. But I know it's a lot there. But I guess we could just start with the first part first. And with that, I give up the mic. Basically saying like, is there a difference between the lower self and higher self? Because the scriptures making it seem like the lower self is like a different person. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam. First and foremost, I'd like to rise and give perfect praise to our Father God Allah, honors to His Prophet Noble Dravi, honors to the forerunner of the Prophet, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Chief, our brother Emily Ill, honors to the current Supreme Grand Chief, our brother Kinu Umar Bey, and honors to everything Moorish, all the members and officers on the call. Islam, brother You got some great questions, but I wanna bring it back a little bit. Because one of your questions you answered yourself in your reading room. You said, "What is the devil sometimes sometimes called?" I mean, some the lower self is sometimes called the devil, and it's like, yeah, because the other times the devil is also called Satan, dragon, beast, and Lucifer. So it really depends on what characteristics we're taking on in the lower self activities. So they're all the devil, they're all Satan, they're all the lower self aspects, but they all have their own characteristics or traits that you can actually see. And when we recognize it, we should be able to call it out and subdue, you know, those characteristics. That's where that's where the sword of law comes in. And that's when, we assert our authority over those lower self thoughts and those lower self characteristics. And that's how we assume the position of the vice regent or the viceroy of Allah. You know, it's a battle within ourselves, because at the end of the day, like you said, we are higher self and lower self, and they're strangely mixed. And that's why the prophet told us to study self. When you're done, study self again, because it's always going to show a different aspect of yourself in different situations. So we're going to have to pass through all of these different waves of life, Islam, and that's the journey that we're all on. But I want to go back and draw off of another thing you said about the consciousness, or where is it located? Because we all have an energy field, an energetic field that's around our bodies. It's our aura, and this energy actually rises depending on how strong it is in each individual. It actually can rise above the body up to 3 feet, depending on your connection with your higher self. They say, how bright your light is or how dim your light is. So that's that energy field that's around us. And the more that we tap into self and we eat right, get enough sleep, reprogram ourselves with positive affirmations and positive thoughts and good habits, we can add to that energetic field that's around us. We can build it up so that our light can shine brighter. And that light that's on the outside of us is coming from the chakras that are inside of us. So as above, also below is also a demonstration within that energy that's in us that also is showing around us. And so, like, we also have cords, invisible cords that bind us, to each other. And also, we can go as far as that cord, as long, we can go as far as that cord is long, if that makes sense. However long that cord is, that's how far we can travel outside of the body. And a lot of people who who be tripping. I don't know if y'all heard about, the DMT, the salvia, ayahuasca, all these things, the mushrooms, all these things that some people like to use to, travel outside of the body into that, those other dimensions. Sometimes you can access those when you're sleeping, consciously, you can travel outside the body. And so, but as long as you're alive, as long as your heart is beating and you're connected to the body, you can't travel further than that cord, as long as that makes sense. And that'll be something really cool for you to look into more on your own. You'll find a whole bunch of, awesome stories and all kinds of stuff that comes along with that information. And back to the keys, key 57 is telling us that Adam and Eve, from these keys from 57 on to the 76, to the ones you was drawn from, this is a story telling us about the fall and the resurrection of the Asiatic Moorish American Islam, the Islamic Moorish American, because, well, the Asiatics and the Moorish American Muslims. So if you follow these keys from 57 on, you will see Adam and Eve are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. So the Grand Sheikh said that we all Asiatics, but we all not Muslims, because Muslims are the Asiatics who submit to the will of Allah. So those are two separate groups of people, Islam. And then moving forward, we can see like 59, it says, the names given to their children were Asiatic. So all the Asiatics are connected to Adam and Eve. They're the father and mothers of the Asiatic nations, Islam. And then when we go down to 60, it says the angels are guarding the holy city of Mecca. So then the prophet is telling us something, saying that, okay, so all Asiatics ain't angels, Islam, and Moorish American Muslims are the angels. So something happened within these groups of people. So the Asiatics is all the olive tone people. And so the ones who become conscious and submit to the will of Allah, then they are resurrected in right knowledge and become the angels, Islam. And the Asiatic, so that shows you right there, 61, the Asiatics and the angels. So 62, go back to the olive people. He's telling us who we are and how we connected and what happened with our mothers and fathers, Adam and Eve. Islam 63, we are related. Are we related to the angels? Yeah, we related because we have the same father and mother. So that goes back to 57. So they the fathers and mothers of all of us. That's how we related, Islam. And we related to the angels, right? Because we came back into the fold. So this is, to me, this is just telling us, this is like the blueprint of the fall and the resurrection of the Moorish American Muslims, and how, we could trace our steps to see what really happened. So, the Asiatics, just like the prophet said in the warnings, he said it was our people, who were slaves to sin. We were the one in the South that he saw that was still, carrying on, as the lower self. And he had to do something about that. So he went, into the ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles, and he brought that back to us so that we could save ourselves. Because if that didn't happen, we would still be stuck in the lower self ways and as slaves here in America. Islam, I yield the floor.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah, so I think we have a little bit more time. So I just want to throw this other part in. So I completely understand when you start breaking down the different characteristics of the Lord self, like Lucifer, Satan, Devil, Dragon, and Beast. And so I know there's talking about our Lord self. And so now I just want to throw this in. So getting all of this, and so the prophet was mentioning how it says, I am going to and fro on earth, seeking whom I devour, which is the Lord self. And so I'm trying to understand, how was the task of devouring finished? we still have our lower self in us. And so from 76 and 77. So 76 said, when was this task of devouring? Is this task, has he finished his task of devouring? The answer is yes. And so our lower self, how is our task of lower self finished being devouring? And also it said his time was declared out when Jesus was nailed on the cross. And so I was just trying to get an understanding of 76 and 77, how that fits into our lower self. Because, I'm taking we have two halves, but it says that the lower self task is done devouring. Because I know we operate in all these different attributes of the lower self, which is Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And so I was just trying to understand how the 76 and 77 fit in. And that'll be my last question for the day.
Islam, that's a good question. I'm just gonna give my draw real quick. Haven't already risen. I'm gonna say, Muhammad the Conqueror cut off the head of the beast, Islam, and so that was how the devil was bounded in part. And when Prophet Jesus died on a cross, Islam or whatever, that was, his that was his demonstration of sacrifice for the Asiatics, for the Asiatics and the Moorish Americans to be able to also sacrifice that lower self to be resurrected. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, I want to say gratitude to you both. Those are good questions and good answers. I just want to add something to that. It says, when was his time declared out? Remember, we just spoke about that in chapter 2, how we measure time in cycle ages. So in that cycle age, some people say that was the age of Pisces when Jesus was here. All right. And so during that time period, Jesus demonstrated to humanity the capability of us to demonstrate, to be the strength of Allah made manifest, to subdue our carnal nature. Remember, that's the whole point of what Jesus did, which we don't get that. I understand that's not necessarily taught to all of us in church. Some people do get that message from church, but many of us don't. Some of us be in there for decades and don't get it. It's about Jesus conquered the lower self. Jesus said that we will all do the things that he's done and even greater. We just have to follow the example that was set. So during that time, we measure time by cycle ages. There was a demonstration of a regular human who was from Nazareth, a despised place. Jesus was from the hood. He was from a place where you're not liked if that's where you come from. People look down on you. And he showed that you can conquer the lower self and that you can be Allah made manifest. And so, yes, just one person demonstrating this shows humanity what can be done. And that's why he's still being studied 2,000 years later. That's why. So, yeah, that time was declared out. It wasn't like he did it and everybody forgot about it. Nobody cared. Nah, it impacted people. It inspired people to actually do that work themselves and to keep it going to the point where we are now. We are in a new age. And that's why we have a new prophet. The time was declared out. And that's also why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali just comes and gives us the message directly. This is who you are. You're not the body. You're not the soul. Man is a thought of Allah. All thoughts of Allah are infinite. They are not measured up by time. For things that are concerned with time begin and end. The thoughts of Allah are everlasting, of the past into the never-ending days to come. And so is man, spirit man. But man, like every other thought of Allah, was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah. So we are a seed of Allah, and we have to do the work to fulfill our full capacity. We have almost unlimited capacity. We are not even touching on it. And so now we are entering into a new age where we will begin to fulfill the will of Allah here on earth. So we are in a new age. So we don't measure time just by like, oh, 10, 15 years, my lifespan, your lifespan. No, we're in a new age. So even in this age, you may have came up in a grimy, negative environment where you don't even think it's possible for humans to be Allah made manifest. You don't think it's possible because that's how nasty and messed up it's been. But guess what? It's going to happen. And maybe for our grandchildren, maybe for our great-great-grandchildren, maybe the great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, because all that falls within these ages, because these ages, these time periods that we measure time in are cycles, So it could be 1,000 years, 2,000 years. But I'm just saying it will manifest, whether you believe it or not. And so, yeah, that time was declared out once a man named Yeshua, Jesus, demonstrated that people, humans, regular humans from despised, wicked places like Nazareth could do it. That means all of us can do it. If he could do it, so can you. So can she. So can all of us. Just by demonstrating, showing what it can do. And so that was put in here by the prophet to show us the capability. And he simplified the lessons of Jesus so that we can get the real message. So that nobody can come on around later on and be like, hey, everybody, take this cracker and drink this grape juice and pass it on. Right now, we get down to the real deal. This is what it's about. Don't skip out on what this is really about. Subduing our lower self. It says, what is the lower self? Or what is the devil sometimes called? Lower self. Well, sometimes. What is the lower self called once you've subdued it? Whatever you want. You still want to call it Satan, devil, dragon, beast, you can, because it's your servant. You can call it Steve. You say whatever you want, because ultimately we are to subdue the lower self. The lower self ain't some super powerful being. We feel like that right now. We don't even think it's possible to be in a world, to be in a world without all of this despicable stuff that's going on. But the prophet came to tell us that, yeah, it is possible. I know it seems like it's not possible. I know, I understand. But we can do it. And he demonstrated it with his life. And he gave us the message from Jesus because he saw with the church that we were in, we weren't getting the message. It had been distorted by humans. So now we have it simplified. That's also why we don't change any of the prophet's lessons. I don't care who you are, what you want to do. We're not changing it. Temple 30 ain't changing nothing from the prophet. We stick with the prophet. This really is for our earthly and divine salvation. So, yes, the time was declared out. How do we measure time in cycle ages? We are entering into a new age. We have a new prophet. He gave us the truth so that we can be it, not just one person. He didn't say, hey, put me up on a pedestal and, physically, symbolically do these things and I'm the son of God. No, that's what humans did. So he let us all know our true nature, what we are, who we are right there in the beginning. There are other schools of thoughts and other I don't want to be disrespectful, but other organizations where you have to pay thousands of dollars just to get this information that's in chapter 1. So we have the truth. And then the rest of the Quran is giving us the true and divine instructions on how to pull Allah out within us, how to raise our thoughts up to divine wisdom for real. And to do it to the point where it doesn't matter if nobody around you thinks it's possible. We're going to do it. All right. So, yeah, this stuff is extremely real. And that's why when we do these lessons, we're looking at the spiritual meaning so that we can actually put this into use on a daily basis in our life. It's not about trying to sound smart, trying to act like we know something. It's about actually putting this into use, actually doing this work to subdue our lower selves and be the strength of Allah made manifest. Ultimately, that should be at the center of everything that we do, whether it's, more schools that we're building, whether it's businesses, anything that we're doing, it's really for the purpose of unfolding Allah within us. Ultimately, everything we do is really about bringing out Allah within us. Islam. And on that note, more as I yield the floor, if there's any other questions or comments, please feel free to speak.
Yeah, Islam grant she got rewrite. So yeah, I completely understand. And when you said to subdue the lower self, that actually answered my question about is sometimes called. So that's the part where it says sometimes, and so that has to deal with us subduing the lower self. And like you said, we can call it whatever we want to. So I appreciate that for the analysis. Now I completely understand. And this also fills in a lot of other gaps in my knowledge. And with that, I give up the mic. And I just say it's like I got the best teachers on the planet. That's what it seems like, because it's like sometimes when I ask questions, it seems like there's no answer, but then it's just like I always get amazed once there are answers. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam, brother. Gratitude. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, brother chairman, please go ahead and take over. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islamism. It's a great bill. Definitely a great bill. And at this point, we're going to the closing. If anybody would like to make any donations, more than you can make donations on the website, moorishamerica.com. Islam, and is there anybody that would like to also join? Any calls for new members? moorishamerica.com as well. Also, Brad Sheik, is there any announcements that need to be made before the closing of the meeting? Islam.
Islam, just want to say or remind everybody we will be having a celebration for the Prophet, also recognizing our charter that we received for our temple. That will be January 5th. We will be at the Reynoldsburg Library and from 1:30 to 4. And we will also have a gift exchange for all the children. We're asking everybody to bring a dish, bring your favorite dish with you. So it'll be a potluck as well. And just want to make one correction to the website for the temple, MoorishAmericans.com. So if you want to join, go to MoorishAmericans.com, hit contact. For everyone that would like to assist us in this great work of uplifting fallen humanity, make sure to send a donation on there to MoorishAmericans.com. Gratitude, brother. I yield the floor.
Islam and partner. So Islam, all meetings are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If we are able to, with a closing prayer, please rise and face the east, 2 fingers to the right, 5 to the left, feet 45-degree angle. You do not have to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name, in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned. Peace and love, Mop.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam family, peace and love.
Islam, peace and love.
Islam, peace and love.